want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is Sunday evening. This is Brian Smyth here with Smyth Radio, along with
Carrie Smyth,
giving you all the highlights and the details of the week past, as well as setting you up for the week to come, so that when you're at work around the water cooler and you're chit-chatting, you will know the details of all the stories that everybody's talking about. And the one that's going to lead it off tonight, very somber, very upsetting. I know you've probably heard of it, and it's all over the news now. But 2 New York City cops were hunted like animals and shot point blank.
assassinated point blank to the head in their cop cars, completely defenseless. And the media got their revenge.
Yes, this was media revenge. And if
Yeah.
you've been listening and watching the news of Ferguson and even the guy in New York.
The I Can't Breathe guy,
Right.
which, by the way, we haven't really talked about him too much. I just want to throw this out here right now. I think he should have been indicted so that he could have his day in court, and maybe I think he should have been found innocent.
The cop.
But, yeah, I think the cop should have went to court, been tried, and hopefully, if justice prevailed, been found innocent. But I think there's enough questions involved with all the details as far as what kind of force he was using and how he applied that force and the results of it and all that kind of stuff to at least stand trial for whatever. I'm not saying murder. I think even Sir Charles Barkley pointed out that he doesn't think it's murder.
Right. Well,
I think you have to want to kill somebody for it to be murder.
The problem I'm starting to have, I've always had a problem with the media. There's no question about that, hands down. We both understand that the media is just an extension of the communist propaganda.
At this point.
Right.
At this point, yeah.
Right. And
now they're assassins.
Yeah, they are, clearly.
And Brian and I were talking before the show, and he pointed out something that was dead on. If Charles Manson, by the way, for those of you low information voters out there that don't know,
you're going to have to give these folks a heads up on.
Right, Charles Manson never murdered anybody. And by that I mean, he obviously was found guilty of that. He never did a physical act that resulted in the death of anybody.
Yeah, he didn't stab anybody. He didn't shoot a gun.
Nope.
Nothing.
He didn't do anything. But he was thrown in jail for murder because he sent out his henchwomen, I guess you could call them, henchmen, henchwomen, whatever, to go do the assassinations on his behalf.
Right.
And his cases were a lot more obvious. It was obvious to everybody that he ordered the assassination and he ordered the killings, and they were carried out. And the people who actually did carry out the killings would say, yes, we killed these people because of orders by Charles Manson. Right? So that's all cut and dry, straightforward.
Right. He was found guilty in 1971, which was a long time ago, of conspiracy to commit the murders of 7 people. Actress Sharon Tate was probably one of the most famous of them. But when he comes up for review to the board to get out of prison, they ask him, a handful of questions. Obviously, one of them is probably, "Are you rehabilitated? Are you going to do this again?" And every time he says, "You better not let me out."
He says that.
Yeah, you better not let me out. I'm probably going to do it again.
Guy. He's very honest.
we need more honest people.
We need a lot of Charles. So anyway, getting back to the comparison here. So the media is just doing exactly what Charles Manson is rotting in prison for. Right. However, the big difference is that the media is not going to send out orders directly. But do not get this twisted. The orders are being sent out. It's just very incognito, very covert.
Right.
It's not direct, but they know when they incite large groups of people to get so angry that they get to the point where they feel like the only way justice is going to be done is by doing the eye for an eye, a tooth for tooth, whatever.
Well, and you can see by this murderer, this guy who murdered in cold blood 2 cops. You can see on his Facebook account and his Instagram account there where it was building up, and he made the comment, "They take one of ours, we're going to take 2 of theirs." And
he put Mike Brown and I Can't Breathe and all that as hashtags on that post.
Right. So I mean, he was clearly referencing.
Yeah, he said, "I'm gonna put wings on pigs today," in reference to. For those of you in Westwood, you know exactly what that means. So he's gonna put wings on pigs today. Hashtag Mike Brown. Hashtag all the other stuff. I can't
breathe. Speaking about I can't breathe, Kobe Bryant was wearing a T-shirt that said I can't breathe.
Right, and like I said, there's definitely some questions as to the conduct of the cop that ended up doing the arrest that led to the death of the guy in New York. He did this chokehold, and there's also a policy that the cops are supposed to adhere to, where they're not supposed to use a chokehold when apprehending. But
it's not illegal. It's just strongly recommended not to use it.
Right, and like Charles Barkley said, if you resist arrest, bad things happen.
If you attempt to take a cop from a gun from a cop.
No, now you're referring to no. Hold on.
No, I'm doing both of them. If you attempt to do anything,
I don't want to get the two mixed up, because Ferguson was a clear, proper application of force to somebody resisting fight. There's a difference between trying to fight to get free when a cop is trying to arrest you, and actually attacking a cop. I think there's two different things there. I think of a cop. I'm going to put myself in the shoes of somebody trying to resist arrest. He's trying to put handcuffs on me. He's trying to do whatever he has to do to arrest me, and I'm just trying to get away from him. That's different from saying, okay, this cop's either A, sitting in his car, or standing next to his car, whatever, and I'm just going to go right at him and right after him.
Full force, with a fist, I'm going to punch him right in the eye.
Punch him and try to take his gun from him in order to shoot him. Now, I'm obviously speculating there.
On a side note, before I forget, there was an article that was written about the record of Mike Brown. Did you see that? It was pretty big. Apparently there are 5. As an adult, at 18, he was facing 5 different felony charges, all including whether they be violence, theft, criminal conduct. But there were 5 different felony charges, and then they went back into his youth when he was younger, I guess prior to 18, and there he had faced a second-degree murder charge as a youth.
Wow. So this guy had some problems.
This is Mike Brown. This was the gentle giant.
Well, when he would did you say, what was the charge?
Second-degree murder.
Attempted murder?
Yeah, second-degree attempted murder.
Okay, well, see, you can do that. You can actually attempt to murder somebody and be gentle about it. So when they say gentle giant, they mean when he tries to kill people.
Is that when you put the chloroform in the rag and you put it over?
But it's got to be gentle, though.
You just told him you cradle them.
You cradle the person while you're trying to kill them.
And you lower them to the ground so that they don't hurt themselves.
Right, very gently. But see, when you attack a cop in the manner he did, that just kind of ruins the reputation.
Yeah! It throws it all out the window.
Yeah, so...
Well, there was also one of the cops that were murdered in cold blood this weekend, his 15-year-old son, which...
Are you talking about one of the cops from New York City?
New York City.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
We're back to New York. And his son, 15-year-old son, posted on Facebook, and it's gone viral now.
Uh-oh.
Just about how he's beside himself because he'll never see his dad again.
You know, I was 15 years old when my great-grandma died of natural causes. She was like 91 years old. And it was really tough. But this is his own father who was murdered in cold blood thanks to the conspirators in the media.
Right.
CNN, MSNBC, and all the other affiliates with all them, and the newspapers especially, who were all inciting. And here's what they do. Getting back to that, here's what they do. They know the numbers game. We're talking millions and millions of people who are listening in and just catching what they're saying. They know most of them are going to get outraged and believe what they say.
Right.
Which we all know. We've talked about it on this show extensively. What they were saying to get these people riled up and enraged and incited to do violence, they were all lies. Okay, which just makes it that much worse. And as upset as most of these people, a vast majority of these people are getting, they're going to say, but I'm just going to hashtag, I'm just going to tweet, I'm going to express my outrage through social media. But what they're hoping is, and they're counting on, and what they've proven to be the case, is there's going to be somebody,
a boil over,
that's going to say, you know what, we got to take it a step further. So, and there were rioting, and the rioting was thanks to the lies in the media. So they did that, but they needed that one guy to exact justice. And they wanted justice, and by they I mean the media.
Right.
The media was trying to get. I could just see it in the meeting right now. Gentlemen, ladies, we've got to get even. We've got to show. We got to have justice in here. I mean, we're talking your communist, liberal, progressives.
Right.
They want their revolution.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever. And so how are we going to do this? All right, let's keep inciting and boil it over. Somebody's going to snap, and we're going to have justice. And this is what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
And you know what? The proof, I don't know if it's proof, but you just watch. I already see it happening now. All this Ferguson stuff, this New York City I can't breathe lies, and all. Maybe not so much in New York City, but the lies from Ferguson, just the reporting on it, it's all going to come to a screeching halt, and any reporting you see on it is going to be, you know what, this has got to stop, and everybody needs to calm down. Can't we all get along and all that? Because they've had their justice.
Yeah, they've got their revenge. They've got the fill of revenge. Their revenge has been fulfilled. If you look at the way that
justice hasn't been done, by the way.
No.
In fact, a serious injustice happened. They wanted the injustice to be that the cops from Ferguson, who are completely innocent, rot in jail.
Oh, you mean the one where they gave his address out?
Yes. They wanted him assassinated, which is why they gave out his
Did you hear what he did when he found out?
He stopped. He dropped everything.
His lawnmower was
still running
in the front yard.
It was like... People were walking by like, is somebody cutting the grass here?
Where'd they go?
What? Somebody was kidnapped.
Broad daylight. Dropped everything, got a duffel bag, and rolled out. How could you not?
He packed a sea bag.
And in those sea bags, man, you can carry a house. If you pack it right.
I know from personal.
Right?
And you know what? There is a right way to pack it, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that canvas will stretch if you do it. So anyway.
The military duffel bags, folks, the big green.
They're green. The sea bag is originally from the Navy, but since the Marines are a branch of the Navy, they give us that, too.
We got one.
Oh, you guys got a sea bag?
Yeah. Well, we did not call it a sea bag.
Airbag. Get your airbag.
Get your airbags.
Oh my god.
No, it was just a duffel bag. But it was the big
round one.
I still have
round.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. When I went to L.A., that was the only thing I took with me.
It has straps on it so that you can carry it like a backpack. put it right on your shoulders.
And it will go from your knees to above your head.
Yes, it does go above. Yep, that's exactly right. And it's round, so it's kind of awkward. Like, you can't just fold your shirts up in a nice square.
Right.
I mean, you end up, because if you have a nice square column in the middle, you end up shoving stuff on the sides to fill it out.
Right, so you got to make it right. I started sticking hard things in there.
Oh, I packed my skateboard.
Well, the problem is you got to make sure those hard objects are to the outside, not in between the straps.
Oh, no, I had my skateboard, and you know what? If I was smart, I would have just somehow strapped it around the outside of the sea bag. In fact, I think I did do that one time. But when we went overseas, I jammed that thing in there, and you could see the trucks sticking on the side.
It blows my mind how they don't break. It's just amazing. The bag, I couldn't rip it if I tried.
Oh, no. It's the same canvas that they use on the floor of a boxing ring.
Oh,
and when they say he hit the canvas, it's actually canvas.
It's really hit the canvas.
Right.
Wow.
So anyway,
with that being said, the communists are in full mode this week, if you will, and
full.
Yeah, folks, it's coming, and we are in trouble. Yes, yes, that is the theme song.
Send the check to the Michael Jackson estate
because he owns all of that. No, that is the right thing to do, Carrie.
Today we are making these changes because it is the right thing to do.
Apparently, Obama this week has decided that he wants to break a 60-year-long tradition, maybe?
Tradition? Okay.
60-year-long isolation of Cuba from all of America. Like, you can't fly to Cuba from America. You have to go to Canada, and then from Canada you go to Cuba.
Canada has trade with them?
Yeah, I believe you can. If
I know you can go to, like, Brazil or Mexico or whatever.
And the reason why, we were just doing more research about this, one of the biggest reasons why we did what we did almost 60 years ago with Cuba was, well, I know you didn't like that one. Cuba's been a communist prison since Fidel Castro came to power from 1959 all the way up until today. I mean, hundreds of thousands of Cubans are placed and forced in labor camps and prisons.
We should have got what's her name on the line so that
yeah, I was trying to get her, but our phone lines were not working properly.
Not up and running. Yeah, we have a communist friend who is so pro-Cuban. And he's probably celebrating.
Right, and here's the problem that I'm starting to find out, because I don't know. We didn't learn about Cuba growing up.
Not much.
Nobody talked about Cuba.
I mean, people know a little bit about the Cuban Missile Crisis, but it wasn't until I watched a lot of History Channel documentaries on the Cuban Missile Crisis, and then, of course, that movie 13 Days with Kevin Costner and all them, that I started to really see all the detail. The Fog of War, right, where Robert McNamara talks extensively about his time during the Cuban Missile Crisis and all the details involved in that. But if it wasn't for me doing that, I wouldn't know a whole heck of a lot about it.
Right.
But
Cuba's one of those things that I think the communists have wanted to keep quiet, because they were waiting for the one day where they could bring it back up again, and it be this thing that we've done in history as Americans, the thing that we've done in history that we're sorry for and we didn't mean it. And even this week, Obama said we should get over things that happened before we were born.
Yeah, that is the most ironic statement that has ever been made.
So Obama wants to open up
The slave trade?
The slave trade. Oh, wow.
Oh, because when you said, see, I thought that he was trying to end racism in America when he said that statement.
Well, yeah, I think,
Can you repeat
slavery
that
did happen before we were born.
Right. So he wants people to get over the things that happened before we were born. So I'm like, oh, he wants to finally reach across the racial divide and bring the country together. But no, he made that statement in regards to Cuba and our relationship with them.
Right. Absolutely.
But you got to remember, Obama is a full-blown communist.
Oh, there's no question about it.
And I think he wants to start... I think opening up trade between Cuba and America is just his way of sending the signal across the world that his communist revolution in America is in full go mode.
Right. Well, this guy, Lee Edwards, who's a writer for the Daily Signal, this is what he wrote, and this is where we kind of started off with. He says, contrary to what President Obama has asserted, U.S. sanctions have worked. We have sanctions against Cuba, and they have worked because America is, well, up until Obama, is not communist. Cuba had spread, and was said by another communist leader, that Cuba was the detonator of communism and spread communism to all of South America with the help of Russia and Khrushchev during the Cold War,
right.
during the
Nikita
50s and
Yep.
60s.
Well, and the thing you got to understand, there's a lot of people that listen to us that are low information voters, and I was one. I was a low information voter when I was in the 20s. Not in the 20s. When I was in my 20s. Back in the 20s. You know how old I am?
Back when I had a buggy and I didn't have a horse yet.
I was pulling the buggy around.
I was born in a buggy without a horse.
Okay. That's putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
Anyway, so when I was in my 20s, I was a low information voter. So don't feel bad. But what you got to realize is that there's two major ways of life in the world. I guess you would call them ideological philosophies of governance. Just the way societies should be formulated. The problem with these two different societies is that they are mutually exclusive, if you will. In other words, they can't operate together for the most part. You have to pick one or the other. You can't have capitalism and communism at the same time because the one destroys the other.
Yeah, they're opposites.
Yeah, it's like dark matter. You're not going to have it matter and dark matter together if you know anything about science, because as soon as the dark matter touches the matter, there is a explosion millions of times bigger than nuclear explosion. They just can't happen together at the same time. And so with capitalism, you have freedom of individuals to start their own business, own their own business, do the things that they can, where they can earn their own money and create their own goods and services for public consumption, and others can compete against those same businesses and create their own competitive businesses against those businesses, and they battle each other for customers.
Right. And if you think about it, oil and water don't mix whatsoever, and that's exactly what this is.
So going back to the Cold War, we had huge, giant, mega empires or whatever, like in one hemisphere, the Western Hemisphere, we had a lot of Europe and America that was all about capitalism for the most part. And then you had the Eastern Bloc, which would be led by the USSR.
That's when
Soviet
they put the wall up and imprisoned people from leaving.
In Germany, yeah, East Germany, or East Berlin.
Right.
So so they were all communists, and both sides were like, okay, we need to spread our way of life and defeat the other way of life, and that started the Cold War.
Communism is a cancer, and they're trying to spread this in order to push everybody down to the bottom so that the elite of maybe a handful of people are at the top. And that's what Khrushchev and Castro and part of whoever the other communist leaders were at the time, colluding together in order to start, if you will, like a World War III revolution of communism, so that communism can take hold again. When they look at America and people hate America and people are against, oh, America this, America's so bad, if America's so bad, then why does everybody want to be here? Everybody.
Yeah.
If you ask anybody in the entire world, what is one country you could go to live? The number one country is America.
Right. Not everybody's going to say America, but I think you're going to have a majority of people.
Oh, it's going to be up there.
Are we being too
big-headed?
or...
Absolutely not. We're not arrogant, and we're not being pig-headed. The reason why it's America is because of human nature. Human nature...
most people don't want to be told what to do.
Right. They're drawn to our country because we're the only country in all of human history, the first and only, that was founded on the premise that the government serves the people. The people are more important than the government. There's never been a country ever founded like that before. So when people come here, they realize, oh my goodness, there's no suppression. I'm not being suppressed. I'm not being put down. I'm not being tucked away. I'm not being enslaved.
At least that was the original intent. It's obviously changed vastly since then.
Yeah.
With the millions and millions of pages of government regulation. It is very oppressive.
And something else.
Nowhere near as oppressive as communism, but it still kind of sucks now compared to the way it probably was back in maybe the 19th century.
No, very, very, very true. The more, what was it, this last month of December, I think Obama pushed through, I may be off by 1,000, but pushed through around 3,000 to 4,000 new regulations having to do with health care.
Okay.
What?
Yeah,
what? And we've talked about this before on the show.
Right.
We need politicians to go to Washington to do nothing but remove all.
And I've thought about that. You know how we have a procedure, a very detailed procedure for making new laws,
right?
And you learn about that in school, believe it or not, shockingly. Or at least we did.
We used to learn it in school. Who knows if you learn it now?
Right now, well, since the communists in the school system know we're going to go full-blown communism,
right? To
teach people how we do it with the Constitution is a waste of time because it'll be gone soon, and we're going to have full-blown communism. But anyway, getting back to the Cuba thing, the East, communists in the East, the Soviet Union, were really excited about Cuba. They get to have a whole country right next to the United States. That's
within rock throw distance.
Yeah, that's going to be a showcase, if you will, of the beauty of communism. So that's what Cuba was during the Cold War. And since we're so far from the Cold War now, I mean, it's been 2 decades.
Right.
It's been over almost a quarter of a century now since we've had the Cold War. And people forget. There's people that are born that don't even know. That are born. If you were born in 1985 or later, you don't know nothing about the Cold War. You really don't know it. You didn't live it. You don't really understand it the way we understand it if you're over the age of 25 to 30, because we lived it. You know, we had to get under our desk during the air raid sirens in order to try to save us from nuclear holocaust.
Because my desk will do that.
Yeah. Do you remember the fallout shelter signs on the sides of the schools and stuff? I mean, you guys that are listening that are under the age of 30 don't remember that.
No.
But anyway, so that was what Cuba was there for. Now, some of you are probably saying, well, you know what? The Cold War's over. Why do we still have these Cold War policies of sanctions against Cuba and all that? You know what? The Cold War, as defined as a war between the United States and the Soviet Union, is over. But you know what? The war between capitalism and socialism, i.e. communism, is raging more fiercely than it was during the Cold War.
It's like, and I'm absolutely beside myself when I see what's going on right now. It is if somebody had grabbed a 5-gallon bucket of what they thought
stinking pile, a stinking slop of what?
Well, no, they thought they were going to throw a bucket of water on the fire that is erupting, and what they actually threw on the fire was used motor oil mixed with gasoline.
We're talking about the decision to open up Cuba.
Yes!
Okay, so here's where I disagree with you. This may end up being the right thing to do. And here's why. I'm walking through it. I'm going through the imaginary timeline that we call the future. And as long as Castro and all the other communists in charge there could prevent the public there from seeing the beauty of capitalism, they will remain in control, and communism will continue to oppress the people. We see the oppression, but if you grew up in a country where it's pure communism, and the people in charge have their thumb on you, and you were born into this, you don't really know what you're oppressed, but you don't know it.
Well,
you don't know it.
Here's the major problem, and this came out on Breitbart this week.
Are you going to counter me?
Got to.
Let's hear it.
Just one day before President Obama announces sweeping changes that would allow potential American corporations, American companies, American money to be invested in the country of Cuba.
Right. Which we know as a communist country means more money, the more it filters right into the government, which will filter right to the leaders.
Well, now that you've said that, the man in charge right now is Castro's brother. 'Cause apparently Castro...
Raul?
Is... I don't know. Apparently he's in a closet somewhere.
Well, have you ever seen that movie?
He's probably dead.
Have you ever seen that movie,
Weekend at Bernie's? That's exactly...
So Raul is carrying... He's always got Fidel at his side.
Oh, he does. So Raul...
You got to see that movie, Weekend at Bernie's. I'm going to rent that thing.
Oh, we got to see it again.
Yeah.
Which one? The first one or
all
five of them?
You got to start with the first one.
Because the main actor dies in the first one, and then
in the very beginning.
Right, and then the rest of the movies, all five of them, he is still dead.
And by five, you mean like two.
Seven. No, there's like three. At least
three. Oh my god! So he's a rotting corpse.
Right.
Anyway,
so Raul has come out in a public statement, and he said, "Well, the Cuban government apparently had begun preparing and prepping itself for the influx of American investment by passing new laws and new measures that would allow Cubans who live in Cuba to go ahead and work for these foreign corporations and to make money. And at the end of the day, they are allowed to keep 8% of their salary."
Okay. And some of you are probably outraged listening. Like, 8%?
No, it's a 92% tax.
That's right. But they worded it, they let them keep. And that's important. You'll hear that language all the time with the communists in America, like Obama. They will use language that will make you, if you read between the lines, they make you believe that they're letting you have some of their money. The money that you earn.
Right.
They want to take all the money that comes in from anywhere, and by they I mean communists everywhere, including Obama and his administration. And once they get all the money, they will distribute it out equally among everybody and keep the other 90% for themselves.
Okay, and they've got this. This is really convoluted, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but you can read the article. It's on Breitbart, but basically, and this is how communists do. They confuse you and everyone else so that you won't see it. You're like, Brian, nobody's going to put up with only receiving 8% of their salary. Well, the foreign capital will be paid the employees who work for corporations with foreign capital will be paid 2 Cuban pesos for every convertible Cuban peso. The corporation actually pays them. The convertible peso is almost exclusively for the use of tourists. It's a significant greater value. The American dollar, an equivalent to 2.5 or 26.5 Cuban pesos, yada yada. What it boils down to is that in the mix of the conversion of this peso and a convertible peso and the American dollar, the Cuban worker only gets 8% of the money.
Right. Right.
Because you wouldn't stand for somebody stealing from you. That's why we in America get extremely upset with the IRS, because they've got 56,000 pages, 500,000 regulations. I don't know. It's endless. Not even the IRS can actually do a tax return that would be correct. And we can't certainly do a tax return that would be 100% correct. And that's why we're
Donald
outraged.
Rumsfeld makes us stink about that every tax season. Writing a letter to the IRS saying, look, this is the best I could do. I think it's accurate, but there's no way to really know. So, if I owe more, let me know.
Right. Well, and us as Americans, we get our money first, if you will. And on your W-2 statement, you see what's been deducted by the government.
Automatically.
Yep.
By your employer, because he's required to by
law,
the government.
Right. And by law, he's required to send that money in quarterly by minimum, and then they have a lot of paperwork to do as well. So, at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, if you've paid in too much over the year, you get a return. If you haven't paid in enough, then you're demanded to make up the balance. So you can see that. Here in Cuba, in a communist regime, the money is diverted from you before you even see it.
So and it's kind of like having all of it deducted from your paycheck. And then they pay. Then the government says, "All right, here's the check."
And so I see it clearly now. Hollywood jumps in. They're making slave wages over there while the companies are getting rich.
Oh,
no, my
boy,
friend.
I didn't see that coming.
No, my friend, Hollywood. No. It's the government
that's getting rich.
That's getting rich and stealing the money. Capitalism. Listen clearly.
They're going to demand that the government step in to do something about all these greedy capitalists that are making all this money.
Yes. Mark, listen to me good, folks. Capitalism would wish nothing more than to make everyone filthy, stinking rich. Capitalism would love for all the people at the bottom to be millionaires.
Yeah, that's more money that they can earn from you.
Because
you're a better customer when you're rich.
Can you
imagine if everybody's rich?
Let's do this on a small scale. Let's take your family, say, and you have 10 people. Say your father has a company, he's the capitalist, and he employs all your brothers, your sisters, your mom, everybody's employed by your father. If you and your brothers and your sisters are making $1 million a year in real money, not inflation money, in real money. You're giving $1 million worth of service, and your father has given that down to you. Here's $1 million for your service. Thank you. Can you imagine the amount of money he'd be making? He wants to make exponentially more money. And the only way to do that is by making the people at the bottom rich. That's what capitalism does. Communism, however, is the opposite. It's upside down. All the money flows to the top and stays at the top.
And those people really are greedy. Whereas
they're so greedy that they will allow you to rot and die in a hole.
Well, and here's
in order to keep their money.
Well, and here's the biggest difference between